And the preacher from Holland told you about respecting our heritage, the positive points in our heritage. We have been having pressures from some of these groups who say now there are two ways of life. There is the normal way and there is the parallel way of the homosexuals and so on. We said, but this is not our interpretation. Yes, we know homosexuals were here. We even have a name for them. For you don't have a proper name because you say homosexuals, single, whatever. But for us, we have got a specific name, Ebisiyagi. Very well. So we know them. But what we know was that these people were a deviation from normal. They were, and they were not killed. We had a few well-known homosexuals here. They are well-known historically. One of them was a chief. He did a lot of good things. I hear even one of them was even a king, I hear. That's what I keep hearing. They were not killed, but they were not praised and promoted. And it was not put out that it was a normal way. No, it was a deviation from nature. That's what this is our understanding. And then I tell them, besides, why do you publicize these homosexuals? Why do you want to publicize them? Because even heterosexual, if I kissed my wife in public, I will lose all the elections in Uganda. Because Africans don't show what is private, they don't show it in public. If you want to kiss, you know the address of kissing, where it is. And I was really a passionate Bible reader. I had my own interpretation. I said, no. It is recorded that Jesus was violent. And when he found people sitting in the temple, he upset tables and damaged property, and there's no record that he paid compensation. So I couldn't agree with that also. As I've told you a number of times, I had been very active in the religious movement myself. In the 1960s, I was after the president of the Scripture Union. But in 1960, around those years, culminating in 1965, when we had the East African Scripture Union Conference at Muiri, I had sort of disagreed with the groups, partly for the reasons I hear some of you talking about now. And I'm glad it seems the movement has moved to cover some of those issues which I did not agree with. That's why I stood aside. I withdrew and concentrated on some other work. There were a number of issues, both locally and internationally. Locally here, some of the points that we were not agreeing with that time, one of them was the withdrawal of our local Christians here. Because they were saying, Ebiensi Musenyu, things of the world are worthless. And in the world, our real gifts are in heaven. So here, we don't have to bother with things here. Secondly, on earth, on earth we are visitors, we are just passing through. Our permanent home is in heaven. I said, you people, your message is very dangerous. So that's why the Christians were not involved. You pray, don't have to bother with the ABNC. I said, no, this is very dangerous. I didn't agree with that. Then the other one was the international one. At that time, we were fighting colonialism in Mozambique, in all those places. And Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount. When somebody hits you on the left, you turn the right. I said, and I was really a passionate Bible reader. I had my own interpretation. I said, no. It is recorded that Jesus was violent. And when he found people sitting in the temple, he upset tables and damaged property, and there's no record that he paid compensation. So I couldn't agree with that also. But from what the preaching I heard today, Bishop Masinde told you, and this is exactly what I told those people 57 years ago, on the issue of whether Christians should participate in our struggles here on earth. My emphasis was on the parable of the talents, because a master gave his people talents. Some used them and others did not. And he praised the ones who had multiplied the talents. So I said, why don't you look at that? Talents, if they are not used, you are letting down what God told you to do. Then, for me, I always, even yesterday, we were opening a factory somewhere, and I was telling these people what God said from the very beginning in the book of Genesis, the fundamental mandate of the human being. Multiply and fill the earth, which the Africans do very well. That one, there's no debate. But then also establish dominion over nature. This is the book of Genesis. So I'm very glad. I don't have time to ukubanyumiza. I'm very glad to hear the preaching of today. Bishop Masinde told you that some people who I suspect are not Christians, because I can suspect who they are. When he was sitting in the airport in Addis Ababa, those who were going to Abuja, going all over the place, who see what you fellows don't see. That's exactly what I was struggling with 57 years ago. Using our talents. So I am glad with the preacher who said, Mulemereko. Si what wagambi musajja. Ndi tukole iki? Tulemereko. So ebyange bikomyawo Katonda yebazwe.